Hey YouTube, good morning. So I've got a treat for you here. So if you watched my last video about making this Thymolized manly recipe, this mixture of thymol and a little bit of water with some lecithin in it to emulsify it, I kind of alluded to something I'm experimenting with regards to bird watching, ornithology, specifically hummingbirds. I imagine if most of you out there are beekeepers, you also like the environment, you like nature, and perhaps even bird watching. You could probably hear the birds going on right now just around me. One of the biggest problems with feeding hummingbirds is that the sugar ferments after a few days. Well, sugar water, you got to change it about every 5 to 7 days. And that's one of the hardest things I find about hummingbird feeders is keeping the syrup clean for the birds. Well, if you watched my last video about what I do with my sugar syrup based on some research and some experimentation that goes very, very far back, using just a little bit of this Thymolized mixture in my syrup, I use about 2 teaspoons of this mixture that I made in a previous video. If you haven't seen that yet, maybe check it out on how to make this. In about 2 teaspoons for 5 gallons of bee syrup, 1-to-1. So it doesn't take very much of this to go a long way. Well, a hummingbird, you don't need that much food. And hummingbirds typically use around a 1-to-4 mixture instead of 1-to-1 for bees in the summer. So I typically, let me show you what I do. So this is my 1-to-1 syrup. I have a vinegar jar and I'll just kind of pour about a little less than 1/4 of the bottle of sugar syrup. I do have some markings on there so I can kind of see. And there you go. So that is about 1/4 of the jar of 1-to-1 sugar syrup. Now, to make this 4-to-1, it's not exactly just adding 3 more parts water because this is already in solution 1-to-1, but this is also not exact science. So if you want to roughly make this 4-to-1, you need to go a little bit above, the 4 hash mark. But honestly, if you've made your own syrup at home, this is about 1-to-4 syrup now. But this is just 1-to-1 syrup. Now, to do the recipe of the manly recipe so that this thymol makes this syrup have the antifungal and anti-mold properties, you need to do, believe it or not, for about 1 quart, all you need is 10 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it. And that's the same ratio of using it in the bee syrup to get the manly formula. And if you look in here, it's a little bit milky at first. That's because it's got soy lecithin in here to emulsify the thymol. But just with a quick shake, this sugar syrup now has anti-mold, antifungal properties. And to my experience, it does not bother the hummingbirds. They come to my feeders just as much as without this. If you smell this, it's got a slight hint of thymol. Now, because this has some soy in it, just to break that smell a little bit, take an essential oil of your choice. I'm not even going to tell you which one I do. I'm going to put about 2 or 3 drops in there. Use the one you like, something you smell, something you think your hummingbirds like. This happens to be one I use in my bee swarm lure. It's not lemongrass oil, but that just kind of knocks the smell back, gives a little bit more of a floral smell, which in my own mind, I think the hummingbirds would like better than the smell of thymol. But to this point, they're still going to the feeder that's red and that we all use. So this is now basically Thymolized syrup with a manly 1x, 1.5x ratio of this antifungal, anti-mold agent that is organic, found in nature, comes from the thyme plant. And I have left this in my feeders for weeks without any mold rings or fermentation. You be the judge. It's just an experiment. I'm not selling anything. I'm just showing you something I learned in my own backyard and has made my hummingbird watching a lot nicer because I'm not always running around to change my water every single week. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm guessing I'm going to have some people that disagree with me and some people that are probably like, hey, I'll give it a try. I love to hear both sides of the story. Have a great day, everybody.